Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. Chelsea video coming to you. Lateness is greatness. But unfortunately, this club is in crisis. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's a lot of news to get through that has been compiled. A bunch of crap has been compiled in the last couple of days that we must run through. We must give opinions on. Now, I'm starting with the manager, getting straight into it. Of course, he's got the vote of confidence from the board after the Everton game. He's still here, as I believe he should be from their perspective, because you cannot continue to keep hiring and firing managers in such short time spans. You can't keep getting those decisions wrong. You look incredibly incompetent as a board and incredibly confused even to other elite top managers out there. And you saw Nagelsmann reject, you saw Enrique fall through, or potentially they rejected him, right? They went in different directions. It took months to even get Pochettino through the door. It's going to be harder and harder to attract top managers if A, you don't compete on the pitch and you keep falling down the league and you don't put yourselves in places for Champions League football, and also if you keep treating managers like dirt and constantly hiring and firing and moving them on so quickly in quick succession. So I do believe that they have no choice really but to give him more time, because like I said, they have to take most of the responsibility for where we're at right now. But the manager has to improve. The manager has got to show me something. He's got to show me more in terms of the way we're going to play, in terms of the plan on the pitch, the style, getting the best out of your best players, using their strengths and shielding their weaknesses, making sure that when you pick that team and when they perform, you have coached to win. You have not left yourself to blame in terms of in-game management, in terms of the chances that we absolutely should be battering the opposition goalkeeper, forcing them into saves. And if the finishing is not there, but you're constantly creating opportunities in dangerous situations, you can say, fair enough, the manager's done enough. We're unlucky with a few injuries here and there, the lack of consistency with the starting 11, but I need to see way more from Pochettino, because this is not the level I expect from this manager. At bare minimum, I was always expecting him to be able to get us back into the Champions League places. And then obviously, if we need a winner, we need an elite level coach to finish off the job in the next few years, then we go again. So he's got a lot more to do. And considering his remit is developing players, I am a little bit perplexed with this bit of news, which is that we need to sign 4 new players in January. Now, I agree we need a goalkeeper. Do I even think we should have to get a goalkeeper in January? If they believe that Sanchez was their first choice and was good enough to be a starter, and all of that, briefing and PR that we gave for him when he signed to maybe cushion and soften the Caicedo deal, which didn't happen because we had to overpay on that situation. But with Robert Sanchez and Ben Roberts, obviously from Brighton, the goalkeeping coach, it was meant to be a great kumbaya combination. Then the goalkeeper situation, even though I don't believe that it's good enough, I don't believe that he's the goalkeeper we need long-term or even maybe medium-term, they shouldn't have to dip into the market 6 months after signing him to sign another first-choice goalkeeper. So you should be able to reach your objectives with that goalkeeper in goal that you selected in the summer. Now, in my opinion, like I said, I'm not comfortable with him being our first-choice keeper for the foreseeable future in terms of the long-term, medium-term. I think that position is 100% got to be looked at. And the other position that I think has to be looked at, which is fair play, is the striker. Because you've got 2 young strikers, unproven strikers that need developing. And really for balance, yes, you should have a top elite level striker, gunman up there who's seen it, done it, and can even hand a little bit of advice to those young strikers and help them develop and build their confidence and give them rotational minutes and not apply too much pressure, which is a very pressurized club and toxic situation potentially developing. Now, in terms of the market last summer, I sympathized. Vlahovic for me was not the option. I stand by that. That guy is injury prone. We've seen that at the start of this season. If you move for a Osimhen, if you move for a Tony, whatever, fair enough, you can prioritize that position as a must. But in terms of the midfield and the defender, the centre-back, which is what Pochettino is alluding to, we need to correct our spine. We've spent so much money in these 2 positions. The fact that we are talking about having to dip into the market again without even seeing the fruits of our labour, without even seeing the quality that we've invested in fully in these positions, for me is unacceptable, and I think it's quite embarrassing. You take a look at the centre-back pairings that we have, Badiashile and Disasi. They look competent against Everton. I think there's something to build there. They have a partnership from Monaco. They won their aerial duels. They dominated aerially. Yes, on the ground, we lost out with those goals. But like I said, most managers would see these centre-backs and say, I can get something out of them for sure. It's not a crisis situation to have these options. Fofana is not dead. He returns. He comes back at some point. Should we have invested 80 million world record fee, I think it was, for a centre-back for someone that just came off a massive injury? No. I flagged it up at the time. Too late. tough luck, you have him, you must use him, right? In terms of Levi Colwill, one of the best young up-and-coming centre-backs in the league. Has he been weak at times? Yes. Has he been defending poorly 1v1 out wide? Yes, out of position. But you still need to train him, develop him, and get used to him, right? And then you've got Silva, who... let's just put him as an asterisk because at some point he's got to retire. And obviously Trevor Chalobah, I don't believe is the greatest centre back in a 2, maybe in a 3. If we were to go back to that, definitely you could make a shout for him. And obviously Humphreys is out on loan. But is that a crisis to have those options? I'm sorry, it shouldn't be. You should be able to do better and do more with those options defensively and keep some sort of, decent defensive record. Should we have to splash in January for a centre-back? If you're looking for leadership, if you're looking for experience, I could understand there's a lack of it between those pairings. But it's not a crisis situation to have those options. And in central midfield, I really don't want to hear it. In terms of height, right? We talk about we lack height in midfield. Leslie Okochukwu is existing. Yes, he's injured, but he has height, right? Cardi Chukwuemeka is not the smallest. And you take a look at, I think someone put it beautifully on Twitter, they did the mathematics, they did the calculations. Chelsea, from an aerial standpoint, in terms of winning duels this season, are nowhere near poor. Nowhere near the bottom, actually. Take a look at these stats. So you take a look at them and you think to yourself, it's not perfect, it's not ideal, but again, it's not a crisis situation. You have quality there. You have Lavia that we've not even looked at. So you have Cassidy out on loan. Again, he's got height to him. They're all young, yes. They're all inexperienced, yes. But it's not a crisis in terms of quality. So for me, you should be able to make something out of that midfield. It's so much money's been spent on it. You have to be able to make something out of that midfield. We shouldn't even be allowed, in my opinion, to make another big move in these positions. We've already put our ducks in a row and said, this is where we're investing, this is who we want. We should demand it from ourselves to get something out of these players. We really should, from a coaching standpoint, considering the talent that's there. So for me, again, I don't sympathise in the midfield. I really don't. So I think there needs to be some serious reflection from Chelsea to say, do you know what? Not every time you get off to a bad start or you are in bad form or you do poorly, do you need to go into the market and rectify it immediately. Sometimes you just need to let things settle. You need to let a few players come back. You need to tweak your tactics, tweak your system, tweak your approach, and then slowly build yourselves back up. But this constant rush into the market every single time we think to ourselves we don't have the perfect, complete player in every position is absolute nonsense. People could say we even need a left back. Is Cucurella the complete left back? Absolutely not. Is Ian Maatson the complete left back? We will never know, but probably not defensively. When you take a look at Chilwell, absolutely not. But are those players competent enough to get us into Champions League places or at least on the fringes of it? Absolutely. So start making things happen in-house. So like I said, I sympathise on the goalkeeper, I sympathise on the striker, I do not sympathise on centre-backs, and I do not sympathise on midfield. You look at Liverpool, they don't have the tallest midfield, they still compete. Our statistics prove that we compete. I'm actually more pissed off and more annoyed with the fact that we leave men free in the box like a Kanji for the City goal in terms of, forget duels, we do okay on duels, we just don't mark. We are just not touch tight. We just have shit concentration. We allow people to have free headers in the box. It happened in other games as well. So how many times have I sat here and said, Sanchez, how was he going to save that? It was point blank range. So for me, it's more about defensively, the way we are set up. If that means we have to move to a back 3 and potentially get an extra centre-back on there, and you've got the Colwells and the Badiashils and the Disassis in the back 3 playing out from the back and using their passing skills and giving that extra protection to a Caicedo and Enzo potentially imbalanced midfield defensively. If you're looking for a sitter and a 6 and you haven't got one yet, which you should, when you spend $1 billion, you should have these things. You should have someone that you say, I mean, I know Lavia's injured or Kuchuku's injured, but you should have someone where you're like, yeah, that's the 6. Because clearly we don't, because he wants a midfielder. He wants another midfielder. He wants a different profile. How can we need more profiles after spending this much money? It's a shambles. But this is what happens when you constantly change manager. You've done business before he arrived. You spent months trying to bring him in. And then when he comes in, it seemingly looks like in the summer, you don't even give him everything that he wants in terms of he wants experience. You go and get more young players. I'm seeing that Conor Gallagher. Let's move on to that. Conor Gallagher's linked with a move away in January because pure profit, because we need to make money to bring in players. He's being Pochettino's probably one of his most important players in this team. How does that align with the manager? How does that align with the direction that he's trying to go in? I don't agree with building the team around Gallagher. I don't agree with having Gallagher be our best midfielder, even if he has been this season, because I think there's a shelf to Gallagher. I think there's a shelf to players like Gallagher, to players like McTominay, to players like Maguire. I'm naming a few Man United players because it's easier to do. But if these are your best players, at the moment, which at these two clubs, people have called them the best players on form, that is a indictment of where you are in the league. You are going to be a mid-table team if Gallagher is your best midfielder. I'm sorry if people don't want to hear it, but that's the facts. This guy should not be Chelsea's best midfielder. If he is, A, your 100 million pound signings are not doing enough or are not playing to the level or not being used correctly. And B, you're mid-table, just like Crystal Palace were when he was on loan there and their best midfielder. So again, I don't believe we should be building the team around him, but we are having to do that because maybe a lack of physicality and pace in the midfield, whatever have you will. We're trying to counterbalance it with him in the team. But if they're going to sell him, then that's going completely opposite to what Pochettino wants. And I don't understand what we're trying to do here. You should be keeping the players that your manager rates. If you don't believe in your manager's talent ID, or you don't believe in your manager's plan in terms of who he values and who he doesn't. You may as well build the team yourself and manage the team yourself and play the game yourself if you're the board. So but that's pure profit. That's easy on the books. That's revenue, right? Same goes for Ian Maatson. Same goes for Trevor Chalobah. Now, also what came through today was that Chelsea, breaking news, a lot of Premier League clubs, and in the end, it's going through, will not be able to in the Premier League anymore, such as similar to UEFA now, their rules, not be able to amortize contracts and fees over 8-9 years, which is what we've been doing. It's now 5 years is the cutoff, just like UEFA brought that rule in as well, because, we found a loophole. We managed to, find a little gap in the market. No pun intended. And now it's been closed. That loophole has been closed now by the Premier League. That's been confirmed. We actually voted to also close it, which I find is quite funny. And I think it's a good thing. I really do think it's a good thing. We have already taken advantage of said loophole, right? We've brought in an absolute clusterfuck of young players, more than you can believe. The last thing we need to do is bring in more young players and bring in more players on 8-9 year contracts. We've done enough of that now. We've supposedly swooped up all of the young talent, even though someone's going to have to tell this board and tell this club that the young talent never ends and there will always be more young talent. So you can't even swoop it all up. And you might actually start to regret bringing in certain young talent that you thought was the best in their age group, because then someone else popped up and now they're not the best in their age group anymore. It's like window shopping. It's like you saw something, you thought it was incredible at the time, you bought it. Then you saw something else, you was like, oh my God, that's much better. But you've already bought this. Now, can you return it with your receipt? In this case, no, you can't, because, the expiry for returns is maybe 30 days. And we've had these guys for 6 months. So now you can't get what you think looks better. And then you just constantly go in this cycle over and over again of just window shopping and just constantly thinking the grass is always greener. And maybe these players that you're looking at now are more talented than the ones that you brought in. But that's why you don't do too much stockpiling at once. That's why you calm the hell down. So when it comes to this club now, I don't want to see any more young players coming in. I don't want to see any more 8-9 year contracts anyway. So I'm glad that this has been shut down and put to bed. We've done enough damage in this part of the window, in this part of the transfer strategy. Time to really move on in terms of that. Now, the last thing, of course, Reece James. Reece James is out for 3 months minimum with another hamstring injury. His list of injuries ever grows and is on screen. This guy's missed so many games. It's unbelievable at this point. And it's very worrying. Now, for me, I don't think we can really continue to have him as the captain, in my opinion. I would. Now, the problem is with this, I ideally now would take back saying he should have been captain. In hindsight, taking a look at, it's not even in hindsight, we all know he had injury issues, but the problem really is that we don't have other options for captaincy. Because this team is so young, because it's so inexperienced, because there is no, real long-standing players at the club. I think Chalobah might be the longest serving player in the first team currently. I think, we don't have much players to really look at and say, you can have the armband. So Reece, in my opinion, was still probably the right person to give it to if you're going English speaking, because everybody since that's got it in Gallagher, Chilwell and Colwell, I would not have put them over Reece James, but this guy cannot stay available. Now, I feel sorry for him on a mental level because it must be absolutely tiring to continue to keep fighting back from these injuries constantly, and it must be exhausting. And I'm sure mentally he's definitely going through it. So obviously I support him. I'm sure you guys do as well. Now, would I sell him? No, because again, we've got to a point where his market value is nowhere where it should be to sell a player of this quality. But at the same time, I don't want to be a hypocrite, which is if you continue to not have availability, then your ability doesn't really mean much. And really, it's getting to a point where he's so unavailable, he may as well not actually be in the first team, right? So the right back that we have in Gusto, when he comes back fit, is going to be playing more often than James season in, season out if this carries on. Now, the only caveat as to why I'm saying don't sell him just yet is because I want to see if he goes for this surgery. I want to see if he goes... Now, I don't know what the right decision is. It seemingly looks like it's not Reece James that's deciding, and I don't think it would be anyway, deciding that he's not going to go for surgery. I think it's a club thing. I think the doctors have decided that. I think they've taken it upon themselves to say, no, we're not going to put you out on surgery and put you under the knife. We're going to constantly keep trying to find other solutions where we can bring you back quicker and sooner. That has backfired because the player is now on his last legs, literally. So it looks like surgery is an option. It looks like he has to take that option because we're not going to get anywhere fast doing what we're doing currently. We've already seen that this is not working. And for me, you're not needed until the end of the season anyway. You know, the season is looking pretty much done. Even when you come back, you're not going to be at your full capacity and your maximum quality. You may as well take the whole season off, go and do the surgery, and come back for next season. That's how I see it. And if you do that, then there shouldn't really be sell shouts for me or personally for anyone because, first of all, you can't sell someone that's injured. So when are you selling him? In January? No. Are you selling him at the end of the season when he's barely played and he's just come back from a long-term injury? No. So when are you selling him? You're not selling him, right? So you may as well stick with the player, show the loyalty, show the love, support him because mentally he's going through it. Get the surgery done because, to be honest, any other solution now is the same problem over and over again. We know he's going to get injured multiple times over and over again if he keeps doing the same thing. Keep doing the same thing, keep getting the same results. Do the surgery, come back, we go again. And like I said, in terms of what he looks like after said surgery, we have to remember, might not look like the same player. We don't know. Sometimes when a player has surgery on a situation like this, they do not come back the same player. We have to be prepared for that. But I'm sure we probably are at this point because, you know, we've gone through enough. So that's my thoughts on Reece James in terms of his recovery and his road to recovery. And now we need to get Gusto fit as soon as possible because I do not want to see centre-backs at right-back any longer. But yeah, that's that situation wrapped up. Now, guys, that's a lot of news. That's a lot of bad news, maybe. In terms of just the way that the club seems to be going, the way that we seem to be approaching things, the way that I'm still seeing Matt Law tweeting about we're still looking at elite young talent, the way that Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart have thought that they were signing young talent with vast amounts of experience when really when you add up the total games played for a lot of these players like the Modrics, like the Maduekes, especially at the highest level, it's almost a handful of matches if they've played Champions League, right? Their domestic leagues are not of the level to be saying that, you know, that's a high elite level experience to kind of put together and say, yeah, we're ready for Chelsea. And even if you were to say, you know, it's not like they smashed up those leagues anyway. It's not like as if they put in 20 goals and 20 assists and absolutely didn't Eden Hazard at Lille. So elite level talent, from what this board believe it to be, is questionable. The fact that they still potentially will chase it is very worrying. And for me, is a sackable offence at this point. If you have not already figured out that you need to stop the under-21 kind of, you know, train and continue to go down this road, then you're just idiotic. Stop buying young players. Look at a couple of key positions. And I really do mean a couple, right? And make sure they're top-level experienced players if you can still even attract that. And then close the door and just leave everybody to it. And like I said with the manager, you've got to find solutions in-house. Obviously, you need players to come back, but you need to also just do a better job yourself. And that's just the hard truth. So yeah, guys, that's all the news. That's where we're at. Smash up the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. In a bit, people. Peace.